make sure you all check out my new show on BravoTV.com called Weekly Dish Happy Hour. It's premiering today, Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Chick angel, that chick angel, that chick angel.
A boss of white and becoming represent. So you're not trying to sell somebody on your idea. You're actually producing them out of your idea. I don't want to make you work.
Yes, ma'am. Hi, I am Jackson from Our Weekly Newspaper. My question is, well, a lot of people might get upset, but why do you really feel as experts, besides the fact that she had leaked files and so forth and sessions and all this stuff, why do you feel Hillary Clinton really didn't win?
All I'm gonna say is black women did their part.
Hey, that's the truth.
About Hillary on this pamphlet. I think you should encourage. We can't move forward with advancing our political interests and our power, which Dr. King defined as the ability to achieve purpose, if we can't have, Latasha, honest conversations. So black women did their part. Some black women
Angela
support Hillary. If there are any black women on the stage who did not support Hillary, or you did so reluctantly, please speak at her. At least she won't even pick up the mic. She just like.
I think in addition, because I think people supported Hillary, but some people, like you had that question, you said, anybody out there thinking about running for office? If you're thinking about running for office, please.
You know, one of my favorite authors, Zora Neale Hurston, in her book, Their Eyes Were Watching God, has a quote that says, there are some years that ask questions, and there are some years that answer them. And I think the last couple of years I've asked a few questions. Like, how did we get here? How are we gonna wait from here? And what will history say about us in this moment? I believe that we are entering a period of answers. 2017 asked, when will it be time for a reckoning around sexual violence? 2018 said, now. 2017 asked, who will speak for the children? And in 2018, the children said, we will. The fact is, we have the answers right here, right now. We are the answers. Women from all walks of
the
life.
daughter of a woman who in real life and also on television wants to make the world a better place. For me as a young comedian and an actress, Tracee Ellis Ross is a long before I dreamed about being an executive producer, Tracee Ellis Ross was starring in Girlfriends and fundamentally changing the world and the rules of women could ever dream of.
And I'm Marley Dias. Hi, everybody. I am an author and founder of #1000BlackGirlBooks.
Yes.
And as you may know, thank you. And as you may know, my life over the last 3 years has been an adventure with obstacles like educational exclusion of Black girl stories, social media bullying, and kids' disdain for reading. Wow. But like the heroes we are, I have overcome many in order to discover my purpose. But none of that would have been possible without the women who came before us.
Working with mentors like Tracy is always an experience. When she's not stealing our food on set, she is making us laugh with her funny characters. But her work and dedication to Black girls is not a comedy. She is serious about making sure that we know that we are loved. She's serious about making sure Black girls love ourselves and that we love ourselves just as we are. I truly admire her, and my hope is that one day I will too win a Golden Globe. And I will also serve as an inspiration for Black girls.
She will though. She will. She will.
I'm trying, guys. I'm trying.
I love them.
Said, there are two ways of exerting one's strength. One is pushing down, the other is pulling up. The person coming to the stage today epitomizes this strength. During her time in the White House,
the grace, the beauty that all comes through the beingness of a Black woman has been life-changing and culture-shifting. Did you hear me say that? Life-changing and culture-shifting, and we are so grateful. If you keep screaming. All right, you guys. There you go. I know so that everybody. The most lovable, beloved woman ever.
I am humbled, and I'm honored and happy to be here. Tracy and I were being backstage chatting.
We were chatting, and we almost
were like, "Is that us?" So, thank you, Tracy, for being here. This is one of my favorite people in the whole wide world.
So, Mrs. O and I met in 2008, 2009. I went to the White House at the time for a mentor program. And we started a dialogue that I believe that we are still in.
We're still in.
I know that all of you feel this, but even now, as two friends that text each other, I still cannot call her Michelle.
That, you know. And
I trick around and like, hey.
I know, a lot of people do that. It's like, hey, it's like, you don't know what to call me now, do you? It's Michelle.
No, you make me feel like I want to curtsy.
It's odd. Can't call me hey you for the rest of our lives.
All right, we'll see.
Okay, all right, but take your time.
I was raised where, you know, respect is given, and you deserve it.
Well,
So there's a lot of talk about using your voice, standing up for something. And I'm curious if you remember the first time that you used your voice, or that you couldn't be an innocent bystander, like you had to speak up, and what it was that gave you the courage to do that and what it felt like.
you know, there are so many of those instances because I was that little kid. I was the bossy little kid, and I was fortunate enough to have parents who appreciated my opinions and my voice from a very early age. And I say that to parents out there, you know, how do you start teaching voice? You teach it young by listening and asking your child questions and hearing their opinion. And you know, you can't be rude, but I was allowed to express myself. And one of my first times, I remember my paternal grandfather, Dandy, and I write about this in my book. Dandy, I love my grandfather, Dandy. But he was he could be kind of a bully sometimes. And for reasons I discuss in the book, just the way his life worked out and his disappointments, there were times that sometimes he would be a bully to my grandmother. You know, just sort of complaining about dinner, and we would go to dinner at their house every Sunday. He'd have this big console TV on, and he'd have this in Chicago. He would be complaining about something, you know. And I was probably 4 at the time, and no one contradicted Dandy, except for me. And at a very early age, I would just go up to him and say, Dandy, why are you yelling? You know, what is your problem? You shouldn't yell at grandma like that. And my aunts and uncles who were younger than my father, but they were teenagers at the time, they would never talk back to him. And I felt like I had to stand up for my grandmother because she was more traditional. You know, you didn't talk back to your husband, and she was a church-going woman. She was very soft-spoken, and she would just sort of take it. But I just couldn't stand by, even at 4, and watch her be yelled at for no reason. So, but my parents supported that.
And I was going to say, so that brings me to another question that I have, which is one that my mother wanted me to ask. And my mom did you can't have your cake and eat it too. And I said, why not? And she said, I don't know. But I have a tendency to, and I have to learn how to do it respectfully.
That's right.
But
but it starts very young.
It does, and it grows into something.
Even teachers, I mean, if I felt like some injustice happened to me at school, I spoke up. I remember I couldn't get I didn't get all the words right in a spelling exercise or a reading exercise when I was in kindergarten. I missed the word white. I couldn't sound it out. I could read. I could read. But that was the first time I remember choking in kindergarten. I just choked. I got all the letters. I could read. I knew I could read, but it was a little peer pressure. I got nervous. I blacked out. I remember this clearly, and there were 3 other smart kids in the class, and I knew that I needed to get a star that day, or else the teacher wouldn't think I was smart. So I went home, and I stayed up all night working on those words, and I went back, and that poor little kindergarten teacher, I said, I want to redo my words, and she said, well, we're not doing that today. I said, no, I gotta And she pulled me aside, and we tested the words, and I got them all right. She gave me my stars. She probably thought, please, just go play with the blocks. I don't even know where you came from.
I hear 2 good lessons there. When you get nervous, which is so interesting to think that you get nervous.
Oh, God,
But when you do, that you can sometimes get another try.
Absolutely.
And we learn from our mistakes and in those moments, because so there's 2 parts to what I was thinking as you were talking. Do you remember something specific that someone said to you growing up that helped to guide you to become the woman you are today? And I wonder if that came from your mom, hearing the relationship that you had.
You know, it's never one thing. It's like it's all many lessons. I mean, you know, when you have my mom is my rock, my role model. My parents, so much of the lessons that
they taught us spin around in my head every single day. But the thing that makes you, it isn't the one thing, it's the many things, you know. It's whether you got that star in kindergarten, you know, it's what that third grade teacher said to you that made you feel good about yourself. It's the fact that it was the love that my father showed me. I mean, this is the thing for men in the room. I mean, having a man in a young woman's life who adores her and treats her like my dad taught me to box right along with my brother. He got me my little set of boxing gloves, and I was punching out my cousins and right there in it. When he taught my brother how to throw, he taught me how to throw. It's little things like that, but the thing about it is, Tracy, which is what we have to remember, little kids remember all those good points of input, but they remember the bad too.
Yeah.
You know, kids know when they're being invested in, when people believe in them, when people care about them, but kids also know when they're not being invested in. They know when they're labeled a bad kid early, you know, when somebody doesn't give them a break, when they're not in a good school. Kids know when they're in the school that's not being invested in. And that's the thing we lose sight of. We think, well, they're just kids. It's like, no. Kids know. They know when somebody cares about them, and when somebody thinks highly of them, and they know when people don't give a crap about them.
So then the question would be, because there are a lot of people that is the reality of their experience. They don't either have that parental guidance or love, or they're in experiences where the actual environment is not treating them as the treasure that they are. So how does one find that?
Ooh, you gotta find it wherever you can. I mean, and what I tell young kids is that, you know, all it takes is one good person, you know, and kids know those good people in their lives. So for the young people out there, I tell them, find those good folks, because there's someone. Maybe it's not your mom, maybe that person isn't in your household, maybe they're at church, maybe there's one of those teachers. You have to, when you find that person, you go on to them.
Yeah.
You know, you stay in their face, you make yourself their priority. And in order to do that, that means you gotta kind of have your stuff together, you know, because people are always looking for the good kids. They're looking for kids to mentor. And you know, your life isn't sunk because your mom didn't do what she was supposed to, or your dad. There are plenty of kids who are beating the odds every single day. And it's because they believe the voices that they know. At some point, you're born with some innate sense of what is possible. That just sort of sometimes gets either beaten out of you or it gets reinforced. But I knew at a very young age that I was smart and that I made sense. I knew that. And I know there are a lot of kids out there that are waking up every day going, it's not me. That's crazy. And that's what you want to tell kids, to trust that part of themselves, because you do get that instinct at a very young age. So when you know you're smart, you find the person who sees that in you. And that means you have to be wiser a lot older, sooner. You know, you have to know how to shake off the bad people in your life. And that's a tough thing to ask young kids to do. But kids know this. You know when you're hanging around some of these friends, the folks that aren't going in the right direction, you gotta go the other way.
No, but really, did you hear that? You know when you're with people.
You know your crew, you know?
And if they are not pulling you into your own joy and your own light, keep it moving.
You have to surround yourself with the people that you want to be. You know, the other thing I tell young people is life is practice, you know? You're practicing, and I tell my girls this every day, you are practicing who you are gonna be. So if you're getting up late, and you're trifling, and that's what you're practicing.
That's what you're practicing.
If you're a whiner, you're practicing being a whiner. If you're spoiled, you're practicing that. That doesn't just go away, you know. And so you have to start practicing who you want to be. Do you want to be dependable? Then you have to be dependable. If you want people to trust you, then you have to be trustworthy. And you have to start those habits very early. It's just like speaking correct English. don't practice the other stuff because you're not gonna get a job that way. So practice who you want to be every single day. And that's what I think kids need to do who don't have mentors in their lives. Find that role model somewhere out there, even if you read it in a book, you know, find that inspiration.
I never got to the question my mom wanted me to.
Oh, what? Yes.
But you were talking about
We
mentors.
digress.
No, yes, it's okay. Can you talk a little bit about your relationship with your mom and how that influenced? Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I know.
And how
Make
that
me cry.
influenced your relationship with your girls.
Oh my goodness. The mother that I am today is a direct result of Marion Robinson. You know, my mom is one of the smartest people with just plain old common sense. And the thing she always said that I do remember is she told me and my brother, she says, I wasn't raising children, I was raising adults. So she treated us, she practiced treating us in the way she wanted us to be. So again, she always talked to us like we had sense. She never used baby talk. She would ask you to explain yourself, and she would include you in big grown-up conversations. There was never anything that she wouldn't talk to us about. If I had questions about, you know, that uncle in the back, you know, I'd be like, well, let me tell you his story. He's back there. And you stay out in the back closet. Everybody's got an uncle. You don't knock on the door. We had our share, you know. Be like, well, what's wrong with him? Well, let me tell you his story. So there was never anything off limits. She gave us chores early on. My father, they taught us the value of money. I remember my father one day, my brother thought we were rich. I don't know why. Because you know, that's how we were rich with love in our little bitty apartment. But one day he put out his whole paycheck. He had it in cash. And he sat there with my brother and he laid out every bill and he put money on top of every bill he had to pay in the month, and then what he was left with, which wasn't much, he said, this is what goes to everything that you ask for. And we were young at that time, and you know, if you're sitting there with your dad with maybe $20, $40 for the rest of the month, you start thinking about whether you really want those new pair of shoes and whether you really need to do that extra thing, you know. That's how our parents were. That's who my mom was to us. So she had a lot of common sense, and so I emulate her in the relationship that I have with my girls. I mean, I want them to talk to me about everything. So that means I gotta be open and I can't be judgmental, and you know, you have to get that mom face right. It's like, oh, did that happen? Okay. Tell me more. Just try not to react so you get the good information. You just sit there and just like, you did what? Oh, okay. Fix the face. It's like, okay, continue. I try to tell Sasha and Malia, do not go to other 14-year-olds for information because all of them are dumb. It's like, don't, you know.
Oh, this is yours. Because that's what I gave you the church in.
Your little crew figuring out life. It's like,
Each word starts and you think you know
everything. And it's like, yo, all of you are dumb. You know nothing. Love you.
in your experience.
So let's just talk about it. Don't ask Olivia what she thinks about sex. It's like, she doesn't know.
Your girls have had the same friends though for a long time because I've been around the same group.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So they've got a good core group.
They got a good core group, and they thought they knew everything at 14, and they did not. So I try to be open with my girls, and you know, also help them practice their voice.
Yeah.
Because if they're not practicing with us, with me, with Barack at our dinner table, if they aren't learning how to make arguments,
You can't just say the man's name.
Barack Obama. Yeah.
What's she say?
it this way. To know this. You're like, no, they didn't even ask about you.
I said your name. No one did anything, so I just moved on. Being of 14-year-olds and not knowing much.
That chick angel, that chick angel.